G'day everyone, and welcome to the 16th Agony Anth, part of my collaboration with the Charles Darwin University Law Student Society. This week we're going to talk about the role of family reports in the family law system. These days, sadly, family law is a growing area of business for law firms, and those of you who go into practice will probably find yourself having at least some involvement with family law. It's a heartbreaking area of law because basically what happens is that people end up investing thousands upon thousands of dollars in their hatred of one another. In my experience, there's usually one party who's sensible and just wants to sort things out, and one party who's absolutely nuts and wants to turn everything into a fight. Family law is also the area in which you're most likely to be dealing with self-represented litigants on the other side. This is a real challenge, and I'll probably do an entirely separate Agony Anth on that topic sooner or later. Ideally, the way the family law system is supposed to work is that separating parents are encouraged to work things out for themselves, with no involvement or minimal involvement from lawyers. The system also emphasises mediation. Indeed, in most cases, you can't apply to the court for contested orders unless the parties have attempted mediation. This emphasis on parents sorting things out for themselves is extremely important because families are a super complex social institution and children are individual. Every family and every child is unique, and so really the only people who are in a proper position to understand what's best for the members of a separating family are those who were in the family. The only people who are truly in a proper position to understand what's best for the children are the children's parents. Where the parents just simply can't find a way to agree, they end up in front of the court. Resolving these things in court is always suboptimal. Any judge would tell you that. For one thing, it can be incredibly expensive. For another thing, it can sometimes take more than a year to get anywhere. And along the way, the two separating parents' relationship becomes more and more poisonous, with the kids caught in the middle. But beyond all of this, consider any parenting application from the judge's perspective. Some judges have 50 or 60 matters mentioned on a daily list every day. They may have several hundred cases on their personal docket at any one time. All they know about that family and those children is what's written by the parents or the parents' lawyers in their affidavits. And let's be realistic, if a judge has 50 matters on their daily case management list, they're not going to read 100 different affidavits every morning. The court is placed in a position where it must make crucial decisions about the welfare of children, and it must do so from a position of almost total ignorance. It's an impossible job, and frankly, I don't know how our federal circuit court judges manage to do it as well as they do. The only way that the court can learn anything independent about the families and the children who come before the court is to have reports prepared by what are known as family consultants or family reporters. Family reporters are usually psychologists or social workers, and they're appointed to provide the court with an independent perspective on the family and the children. How do they do this? Well, normally, the family reporter arranges to meet everybody on the same day. He or she will spend some time with each parent separately, some time with the kids on their own, and some time with each parent one at a time with the kids in the room. How those interviews go is really up to each family reporter. They're professionals and they're at liberty to use their professional judgment to choose the best way forward. And the best way will differ according to things like the aggression in the family dynamics or the age and maturity of the children. A couple of things about these interviews. First up, you and your future clients must understand that unlike most consultations with a psychologist or a social worker, there is nothing confidential about a meeting with a family reporter. Everything which a participant says may be taken down by the family reporter and then reported back to the court as evidence. Nothing that a person says to the family reporter is privileged, not even if that exact same thing would be privileged if you were asked the question in court. Second, one of the things the family reporter is looking for the most is to try to work out whether the children have been coached or threatened or bribed into telling a particular version of their story to the family reporter. In my experience, their success is varied. Some family reporters are very skilled at identifying when a child is simply parroting a story they've been fed. Some family reporters are very skilled at encouraging children to tell their honest and true views, even when they've been bribed or threatened. But some family reporters, in my experience, are not nearly so perceptive. It's therefore a massive, massive gamble for any parent to try to coach their kids ahead of a family report. They might get away with it, but the family reporter might also pick it up. And you can imagine what a judge is going to think if the family report goes back suggesting that one parent or the other coached the kids to lie to the family reporter. The best thing your client can do is to simply reassure the kids before the family report that all they need to do is tell the honest truth. Finally, you have to remember that while the family report is the best way the court has to try to work out what life looks like for these kids, in reality, the family reporter spends a few hours with each of the parties in circumstances where everyone's on their best behaviour. It's still a very slender base of knowledge, but it's the only independent assessment the court's got. When the family reporter has completed their interviews, they provide a report to the court, and copies of that report are provided to the parties, which means to the parents. Now, that report cannot be shown to anyone other than the parties and their lawyers without the permission of the court. That means it shouldn't be shown to other family members. It shouldn't be used as evidence in other proceedings, such as domestic violence proceedings. And it certainly shouldn't be quoted in victorious or vindictive Facebook posts. Now, there's an unfortunate tendency in some cases to regard the family report as being gospel. It's important to understand that the family report is only evidence, and the family reporter will be available at any final trial for cross-examination. In their report, the family reporter will do their best to set out the facts that they believe are established by their interviews. In cross-examination, you might well suggest to the family reporter that other facts are true and that those facts would change their opinion. Remember, the family reporter is independent and they will happily change their recommendation if they consider that those recommendations are based on facts that turn out to be incorrect. For instance, let's say that mum accuses dad of heavy drinking in the family report. And let's say mum coaches the kids into talking about how dad's always drinking. Well, you could hardly blame the family reporter for making recommendations which seek to protect the kids from alcohol abuse. But then let's say we get to court and the evidence points to dad having no issues with alcohol at all. This could be put to the family reporter, who might well reassess their recommendations. The bottom line with all of this is that families should be given every encouragement to sort things out for themselves. If they don't, then the reality is that their children's futures will be decided by a judge who doesn't know them, doesn't love them, and who won't be there to deal with the fallout in future years. The only way for kids to have decisions made in their best interests by those who know them and love them is for their parents to set aside the inevitable antagonism which follows the end of a relationship and to focus on the best interests of the kids. Failing that, the role of the family reporter is to do their best, however briefly and imperfectly, to provide the judge with an independent perspective on the family and the children. The reporter and the judge will make the best decision they possibly can, but it almost has to be less informed and less built on love than a decision made by two parents, either independently or with the help of a mediator or solicitor. I hope that's given you a window on some practical aspects of this particular area of practice. Please keep the questions coming, and I'll see you again soon.